Hey, Seth, good to see you.
What's going on, man? How you doing? That's a good shot right there in front of the desk right there. Now that's a big time. That's a lot of dome showing right there.
Hey, that's a pretty head. That's your head, Seth. We did it for you.
That's a lot of dome right there, now,
That
brother.
is. Hey, Seth, first of all, massive fan. Just love what you bring to, especially college basketball. And I saw
You're
you,
the one. I appreciate it.
well, hey, one strong, though. One
I
strong.
hear you. I
Uh,
hear you.
I saw you picked Alabama, and the debate on this show for a while has been, is Alabama more than a team that if they're off shooting threes, can they still win big games? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do because I think they can win with their defense. They're third in the country in defensive efficiency. What does that mean? I mean, that sounds like just a number, but what it means is they run you off the 3 point line and they protect the front of the rim. So they're one of the best defensive teams in the country. They got size, length, athleticism. They've got good individual defenders, and their defensive philosophy is really good. So they don't have to make threes. What they got to do is get stops. So that enables them to get out in transition, push the ball, and everyone gets so caught up in what they do offensively because of their spacing. They get layups, threes, and free throws. They can get you in foul trouble by their aggressiveness offensively. Now, the one question is if Brandon Miller gets in foul trouble, how does that impact their team? Because he's been so good late games. But defensively is, to me, what makes them so special.
Foul trouble is interesting, especially now that these games matter. Like if you lose, you're done. Is there anything to you being a coach, you being extra loving to a ref, and it actually would affect how they're calling a game?
Oh, I used to tell refs all the time when they were screwing me, I'd get really mad. They'd get ready to tee me up, and I'd go, down deep, you love me. Um, I work with a couple of guys. The other guys, they whack me and send me on my way. But here's the thing: in the tournament, the refs are trying to advance as well. See, the first two rounds, you've got to. If you're part of a crew that screws up the first two rounds, you're not advancing to the second weekend. So, I mean, like the refs are under a microscope as well. Now, after the first two rounds, me personally, this is how I believe. I think that the head of officials, they know who they're advancing to the Final Four. I mean, they pretty much have a feeling for who they're advancing to the Final Four. Here's the thing that you have to worry about with officials. There's two things. One, like say the Big 12 officials, all right? Big 12, they just beat the crap out of each other all season long, all right? They redefine a foul. Basically, the officials officiate advantage, disadvantage, and send a letter of the law. You're trying to advance in the NCAA tournament. You can't officiate advantage, disadvantage. You got to officiate it the way it's supposed to be, which I think is going to affect some of the Big 12 teams. The other thing is, if you, like, say you've had a ref, like I coach in the ACC, so you have certain guys a whole bunch. If you've had an issue with a guy, officials are human also. I used to not think that, but now I do. Uh, and it's just human nature. Like, oh man, Greenberg, he is a pain in the ass. And does that come into play? It might. It might. I mean, it's just human nature. I mean, hey, Bobby, here's the deal. You got a whole bunch of people in a room. A third of the people love you. A third of people are sitting on the fence, and a third of people, yeah. All right. Are you going to spend any time in that third group?
No.
No. Well, those officials, third of officials, you have a great relationship. A third of them are like, they're neutral. And it's not a third. It's one or two guys that, you go, like, you just don't connect. Whether it's how they officiate, their act. Maybe they made a call in a game that screwed you. And, it's hard to let go. I remember when I was at South Florida, we were playing a Conference USA tournament, and I won't mention the official's name. And he absolutely screwed me in the game. And we have Cincinnati in the first round of the American Conference tournament. Bobby Huggins, that was Kenyon Martin, that was that great team.
Mm.
And I saw the officials list when I was in the locker room, which I should have never looked at. So first thing I look and I see the list, and I go, shit. And there was like before the first foul was called, I was like, I couldn't see straight, and lack of maturity on my behalf. I got better with that, but yeah, it's just human nature. I mean, not everyone's going to love you, not everyone's gonna like you, not everyone's going to hate you. It's life.
I was looking at your Final Four and your championship game picks, and you have Alabama over Texas. And I did want to talk about Texas with you specifically because with Beard, well, gone now, he's at Ole Miss, but Texas has a new head coach. At least, I mean, it doesn't even feel like, he was just a fill-in guy anymore. Like, it feels like that's the guy. Do you think that Beard has set this program up to win, or do you think that Texas has kind of created a new culture after Beard for years to come? How do you see this team whenever it gets crunch time here in the tournament?
That's a great question. First of all, I think that Chris did set the culture and the identity of this program. I think he did a really good job. Obviously, horrific what has happened. But in terms of the culture, I spend 2 days at Texas every year, the last 3 years. Chris is a friend. Rodney's a friend. So I used to go watch them practice for a couple of days, talk about their team and talk to their team some. And, first of all, they got 6 seniors. They've got an incredible locker room. When I say incredible locker room. They start every practice, arms locked, walking the court saying together. It's not just empty words. They mean it. So they were positioned, even with what happened with Coach Beard, they were positioned to remain strong because that locker room and that culture and that identity and that togetherness and that investment, I always say that you are your habits. Well, their habits were so strong that they were going to be able to deal with it. And look, some of those guys got knocked back because Chris had a really close relationship with them. But they came together. So I think that Rodney's done a great job. Now, will Del Conte give him the job? That's a good question. He's used to home run hires. This guy's done a great job. Now they're going to have to go recruit some dudes. I would think Dylan Mitchell would stick around. I think Terry Morris would stick around. But they're going to have to get some guys. But Rodney Terry's done a great job. Bob Donowell, his assistant, is a terrific coach. I'm hoping he gets a head coaching job this year. But I think they're built for the future. Their facilities are great. There's a good vibe about their team right now. Man, they play hard.
They play hard. And again, all the 6 seniors makes a difference. Listen, I'm a big Arkansas guy, and we have, we got 3 5-star freshmen, and it's just wild to watch the inconsistency, although the massive and the crazy talent at times. But there is a difference in an 18, 19-year-old and a 21-year-old, a massive difference. Would you agree?
Oh, man, I think it's also a massive difference when you have 18, 19-year-olds that are one-and-done dudes, and they don't have, their agenda might be different than the team's agenda. And, I think that's the hardest thing. I'm a huge Anthony Black fan. I think that dude is a flat hooper. Reminds me of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander 1.0. He's got to shoot it a little bit better. Nick Smith, the whole deal with Nick Smith this season was a little weird to me. Guy leaves the team for like 3-4 weeks, then comes back. I'm a big Devo Davis fan. Obviously, Ricky Council's been great. Losing the bigs obviously hurt a little bit. Makai Mitchell's got to play well. But yeah, sure. I mean, here's the deal. This is the first NCAA tournament. They're one game away from going and getting their workout guru and getting ready for the NBA draft. That's what those guys are. So if they get punched in the face, are they going to fight through that? Are they going to have the toughness to grind it out so that, so that they can, make the tough plays they need to make to win that game? I like them. I like them over Illinois. Excuse me. Over Illinois because of the backcourt. I mean, that backcourt's a joke. My only concern, and Bobby, I think you, being an Arkansas fan, you understand this. Like, since Nick Smith has been back, Devo Davis has not been this good. And, to me, in a lot of ways, Devo and Ricky Council are the heart and soul of that team. And the next level talent is Anthony Black and Nick Smith. And finding a way to get those guys together. And then, as you know, look, must be back-to-back Elite Eight runs. The big question is, can that team have the grit defensively that those teams had that made it to the Elite Eight? I think that's going to be the question for them. I do like them. I went and watched Musk practice this past year as well. And, man, he runs a good practice. The Musk bus is real. He's a little nutty, but the Musk bus is real.
What about Duke? Here they come late. I mean, nobody's got more momentum than Duke right now. They've caught fire. Is that a fire that's big enough to roll them through a few rounds?
Yeah, I got them in the Final Four. I think it's not just catching fire. They're 18-1 with the full lineup. More importantly, I've been really impressed with John Shar's patience. The start of the season, Whitehead was hurt. Lively was hurt. Tyrese Proctor just got there when school started. They took a couple of punches in the face. I mean, and all John Shire did was continue to coach. He blocked out the static. Figured out his team, got guys to buy into roles, trust each other, define roles, come up with a substitution pattern. You got Granderson and you got Ryan Young coming off the bench. Tariq Whitehead buys into that 6-man role, is still getting minutes, knock down jumpers. Put the ball in Tyrese Proctor's hands, played Roach off the ball. And then the development of Derek Lively's really been impressive. I mean, really impressive. I mean, now they got a rim protector, a rim runner, a long roller in terms of coming off the ball screen actions they run. I think they're for real. I think they're really, really good. And they are so good defensively for a young team.
A couple injury questions. With Jalen Clark going down, obviously big news at UCLA, and not so much about the points, but just defensively. I mean, the guy was a terror. What's their ceiling in your mind now that he's gone?
I think Elite Eight. The other question is that then Bona. He went out in the Pac-12 championship game. I was really impressed how UCLA played without Jalen Clark. I'm a big Jalen Clark fan. Mick's a good friend. I called one of their Stanford game, and it's funny. I mean, Jalen Clark is like one of Mick's old Cincinnati guys. Like, he's just flying all over the place. He's getting deflections. He's getting rebounds. He'll get a post up. He'll knock down a three. You're going to miss him. David Singleton is a huge piece to have to be able to slide in there. Amir Belly, obviously, he's played well in the Pac-12 tournament. Jaime Jaquez is a bad dude. That's the only way to describe him. He is a bad man. And Tiger Campbell is a great closer. If Bona's fine, I've got him going to the Elite Eight and losing to UConn.
I watched the entire Houston and Memphis game. Probably because right before the selection show. That's probably why I caught almost all of that game. With Sasser not being in the game, we saw Memphis pull that out and win that game and win that tournament. But if he's not 100%, does Houston have to make more changes to make a deep run?
Oh, first of all, Bobby, you were supposed to turn that game off and watch us on ESPN.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. I said the only reason I was watching, but I hear you, Coach. Go ahead.
Exactly. All right, come on now. You want real analysis or not? Sasser can't play. They're different. Like, I look at this Houston team. I look at them like their backcourt being Baylor's backcourt that won the national championship. If Sasser's healthy, and he's Davion Mitchell. You remember those big plays Mitchell made at the end of games when Baylor's road for the national championship? He's that good, and he was healthy, and he was playing great. Now, if he can't play to 100%, that's a concern. Shed's good, and Traymon Mack is good, and Juris Walker's good, and Francis. I mean, they're good. And look, they win with their identity, but you can't lose a dude like that. I mean, that's the guy that has the ball at the end of the game and makes a play to win. I mean, that's just the way it is. You're going to play in a close game. You saw what happened in Memphis. Memphis playing well. I mean, Kendrick Davis is a guy that can, I call him a ball guard. He's a scoring point guard. And DeAndre Williams is a tough matchup. But, if Sasser doesn't play, I don't see Houston advancing.
Last question for you. Do you get into brackets against people? And have you ever lost?
Oh, shoot. If I had all the answers, I'd be in Vegas.
I would just
I mean, shoot.
If all of a sudden S. Greenberg shows up in my bracket group, I'm like, God dang, man, how did he get in here? That's what I would feel like, Coach.
Well, I got a question. Where is your bracket group? Because, I mean, you could join the ESPN bracket marathon and join the College Game Day and go head-to-head with me.
That is, and that's where I am. ESPN has the best bracket, by the way. As far as
easy, isn't it?
Functionality, absolutely. Because a lot of people,
even an idiot like me can do it.
Dum-dums can do it. Not you, Coach, but in general, and I mean dum-dums just in sports. Like, my wife does not follow college basketball other than Oklahoma and a few Big 12 teams. However, she's like, I'm all in, and ESPN's not paying me to say this. It's the best as far as the bracket and how the functionality, even for dum-dums and smarts, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah, they've got it down.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Coach, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. And
man, thank you. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Big time of the year for you, and so we appreciate the time. There he is. Follow him at Seth.
Wait, I got a question.
Let's go.
Who's your Final Four? Wait a second. You asking me all these questions.
Yeah, but that's my job.
Final Four?
My job is to ask the questions. So I picked Alabama. I watched Alabama all season long. I'm a big SEC guy. It doesn't matter who it is. I'll watch it. So I picked Alabama. And I have Texas in there as well. You know who I like, and I've struggled. I think TCU is a strong 6.
Eddie Lampkin. No Eddie Lampkin.
I'm still rolling with them as a 6. I feel like they can win a couple games. I don't have my Final Four. I think Michigan State can be a threat as well, and nobody's really given them kind of their early flowers. How do you feel about Michigan State?
I like him. I like the backcourt. Tom's a dear friend. I mean, Tyson Walker's a good closer. AJ Hoggard, when he's on, he's getting in the lane. Joey Hauser's shooting it at a high level. Malik Hall's healthy, which is important. I like them not guarding the way most of the times teams have guarded, but I do like their backcourt. If they guard, speaking of Tom last week, he said they were just going to work on defense this week, which I know that's not exactly what's going to happen, but they've got to guard because they've been trading baskets with people, which is so out of his character.
Arkansas win the national championship, though. And I always have to say the other stuff first, just so people know I'm not crazy. But then I go, let's be honest, Arkansas won it all. So, yeah, there we go. Coach, Arkansas to win your championship. When that happens, feel free to.
Here we go.
That's it. Hey, you're great. Thank you, Coach. Have a great day.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me.
You guys can follow at Seth on Hoops. There he is, the great Coach Seth Greenberg.